Their lawyer, Daryl Parks, joins us. Nice to see you, Daryl.
Thanks for having me.
Daryl, I'm always curious because I've always been on the other side of these cases doing defense. I always think, the family of the victim, how tough it is in the courtroom. Do they feel hostile towards George Zimmerman? What's the feeling?
Well, obviously there's no love, and it's probably built upon the fact that even on the attempts at apologizing have been half-hearted. When you think about the attempt he tried in the courtroom, what he said on the Hannity show, it didn't seem to be very contrite. It didn't seem to be very sincere. And so when you get a person like that who's taking your child's life, and for the general public it may seem to be impersonal, right? But for them it's real. When you hear Tracy Martin say that Trayvon was his best friend, right? That's very real. When I see Sabrina having a tough moment, right, where it's going through her whole body in terms of the pain that she's feeling from her loss, that's very real. And then to see the guy who caused all of that pain walk past you as if he's just having a lovely day, right, goes to the core. And so at the heart of all of this is that emotion. And you have to always remember that because I think people really lose sight of that when you see all of this other stuff going on around them.
But it's so clinical to us in the sense that when you're the lawyer, even like on television or something, you're so removed from the victims. We oftentimes forget, and no matter whatever happened out there, even hypothetically, let's say if Trayvon Martin, I don't know, the jury will decide, but if Trayvon Martin's the aggressor, nonetheless, their hearts are broken and they did nothing wrong, the parents or the brothers or the sisters, the relatives, and we oftentimes forget. That in our sort of clinical analysis and pushing people through the system, the people in the system.
Well, let me tell you this. One day I was having lunch with Sabrina in Miami, and so when I left her, I asked her, I wasn't at the funeral, I had never been to his burial site. And for me, when I do serious wrongful death cases, I always like to see the person's final resting place. So I went by myself, I went to the crypt, I went to the mausoleum, and I saw this crypt that said Trayvon B. Martin, right? And for me, right, that helped me understand the finality of what we were dealing with. And that made it very real for me. So no matter what else, I remember that moment and where he is today. And so that puts me in a different mindset when I listen to some of the other things that may go on in this case, and that Trayvon did nothing to cause that.
We all talk to our clients and prepare them for all sorts of possibilities. One possibility here is an acquittal. Have you prepared them for that, and can they accept that? Can they accept that there was a fair trial and that 6 jurors, if that's the verdict, can they accept an acquittal? Let
me say it, and this is maybe the first time we've tried to have that conversation with them, right? That is not a conversation we can have right now. It's really not a conversation we can have right now. And so we have to place it in God's hand.
But don't you just sort of like, the role of a lawyer is often complex. I mean, we don't just do things in the courtroom. We try to sort of shepherd them through situations. I mean, you gotta have that conversation sometimes, so that you gotta get them to face it, so that it's it's easier if that's what happens. I mean, not that this is ever easy, but
here's what I decided after having that conversation with my clients today. I broke the meeting and said, you know what? We'll decide what we do after we get the verdict in hand, and then we'll rally up, and then we'll make decisions then.
Comes fast, though. That stuff comes fast, though. You don't have much time to think.
It's so heartfelt right now, though, Greta, that they can't have that conversation. They really can't. And so we've taken some steps to ensure that privacy, which you'll see when the jury comes back either tomorrow or Saturday or whatever. But as it relates to, let's say, other matters that we have to do post-trial, we won't decide that till afterwards, because they are feeling a very, very, very heightened level of emotion at this point.
Do they watch these shows at night?
Somewhat. Yeah. You know what? They'll ask me, like we were at dinner the night, they ask me, what am I doing? They may or may not see me. They're very tired, and tomorrow we have an early morning. I just told them that we have to be at court at 8:30, so obviously we got to leave very early to be here at 8:30, so they can't stay up too late.
They shouldn't watch any of this stuff. It always makes it always worse. Anyway, Daryl, nice to see you.
Thanks for having me.